Well, let's start out by talking about where you were living when the war broke out in '41. Where were you at then, and what were you doing?
All right, I was born in Ackley.
Yeah, it's going whenever you're ready.
And I attended Ackley School, graduated from Ackley High School.
What year did you graduate?
Class of 1927. In 1942, at the age of 31, I was called into the military service. In the first national drawing, I was third, and in Hardin County, I was the seventh number drawn. I had been married for 5 years and had my own business of a meat market, a line of groceries, and a counter-type ice cream maker. After a couple of deferments, I was called to go. Am I doing this too fast?
No, go right ahead.
It was the beginning of rationing, and no one wanted to buy, and no time to sell. We had an auction sale, and I took a heavy loss. I owed the bank money, and it wasn't an easy time for me to leave my wife, Midge. And Midge went to work, though, and with her salary and a small government allotment, the debt was paid when I got home. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
I left for Camp Dodge December the 30th, 1942. After a week there, was sent to Camp Swift, Texas, for basic training. After the maneuvers there, we were sent to Camp Polk, Louisiana, for more maneuvers out in the woods. After this, we were sent back then to Camp Swift in Texas. Is it all right if I cut it off down
Sure,
there?
sure.
Wait, I got some here somewhere. Okay. After that, in 1940, December 28th, 1942, we went back to Camp Swift, Texas.
That has to be 43.
No, 42 on here. Because we was only, I was only in.
That can't be right.
All right, that's 43, whatever. Oh yeah, because here, and then on. Oh, even no.
Is that 507
This is
material?
I'm getting him stuff here to Camp Polk, Louisiana, to provide track. We went getting back though to Camp Polk, Louisiana, to provide transportation for Director's Headquarters of the 3rd Army maneuvers. May 4th, September the 30th, 1943. Now this is.
I don't think that you better put that in because that's too sketchy.
Now wait a minute. We were recalled to Camp Swift to prepare for overseas duty. November 14th, 1943, we left Camp Swift, Texas for Camp Gilmore in New Jersey. December the 3rd, 1943, we left Camp Gilmore, New Jersey for New York docks. Boarded ship Queen Mary for England and sailed December the 3rd, 1943 at 11:20 a.m.
Be sure to mention how many were on that ship.
And on that ship, they told me that there was 20,000 of us on the Queen Mary. We were packed in there like rats. We just couldn't hardly move. And the English, it was an English ship, and they furnished the food. And I'll tell you, for breakfast, they'd give you these old hard-boiled eggs. It was green inside, and kidney stew. They was great on that stuff. I was glad to get off it.
You survived though, didn't you?
Oh yeah. All right. Then on December the 9th, 1943, we arrived in Scotland near Glasgow. At 1 a.m. we docked, boarded a ferry, then a train at 10 a.m. and arrived at Camp Starport in England anyway. December the 10th, 1943 at 2 a.m. we were attached to 8th Corps headquarters. January 30th, 1944, we went to London, England, and we joined the 1st United States Army Group commanded by Lieutenant General Homer Bradley. July the 16th, 1944, the company left London and arrived at Southampton, England at 3 a.m., July the 17th, 1944. Left Southampton for France at 6:30 a.m. July the 19th, 1944, we arrived at Omaha Beach, laid off the coast of France until July the 23rd, 1944, all floated on barges and then drove off into the water to land. And this was quite an experience at this time when we was on these barges at the water. There was 4 of us assigned to a Jeep, and we was on barges. Here we were out in the water, English Channel, and these darn Germans coming over us, just bombing the heck out of us. So we finally got off of that. I mean, got on land, and we had it on the land, and I remember all the dead Germans laying around, the dead animals, the stench was terrible, but we went on.
But this was like a month, more than a month after D-Day, right?
It was only about 10 days, I think, after D-Day.
Okay.
So we got let's see them.
I thought that's what they told you.
Yeah. How that both.
You always thought it was a little longer
First
after
area.
Union, that's what they told him.
Well, June 6th was D-Day.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
and I think this is what did I say there? Just like.
I always thought you told
Well,
me
but this was July 23rd, but July 19th here. 10 days then.
well, that'd be,
I don't tell you, some of them went in 4 and some later though. See what I mean? But anyway, in both groups then joined. We were assigned to the 12th Army Group under General Bradley. July the 23rd, 1941. First area near, how do you pronounce it, Mitch? I don't know. Insignia, Insigny, France,
Insignia, I suppose.
at 10 a.m. July the 31st, 1944. Second area was, well, here I go by pronunciation, P-E-R-I-E-R-S, France. Did you get all that?
Perez? I don't know.
August 8th, 1944, third area, Saint
That probably isn't that important anyway.
S-A-V-O-U-I-E-R, France. August the 25th, 1944, fourth area, Laval, France.
Weren't you stationed at Verdun a long
Yeah,
time?
we're gonna get to that right. September the 2nd, 1944, fifth area, Versailles. How do you pronounce it?
Versailles, I think it is.
Versailles, France. September the 14th, 1944, sixth area, Verdun, France. May the 1st, 1945, seventh area, Wiesbaden, Germany. Was at Wiesbaden on VE Day. Left Wiesbaden, reported to Camp Chicago near Lyon and Reims, France, for redeployment to the United States. July the 8th, 1945, left Camp Chicago for Camp Lucky Strike at 9:30 a.m. Arrived July the 9th, 1945 at 9:30 a.m. in 40 and 8 boxcars on train. September 1945 to Camp Bowie, Texas for redeployment to the east. September and October 1945. While at Camp Bowie, VJ came and most of them were discharged from here. Shipped back to U.S. on Wakefield. But you know what? Of course, we didn't have this on it, but I remember when we went across on the Queen Mary, which we spoke of before. Man, I'll tell you, we got in some rough waters in the North Seas, yeah. Of course, I can't remember some of these things. You know, I'm getting that age where I got to think back. But anyway, the Queen Mary is really a tall, big ship. You know, it's one of the biggest on the ocean. Those waves that come over the top of that, and you better be careful where you were because you'll have to be swept off. In fact, some guys were swept off there, and it was really rough. Then we got into near Scotland. Then the darn German submarines started on us, and boy, they was just bad.
German submarines?
Yeah, so that we finally got there in Scotland. But while we was in London, I remember we had pretty good go, you know, training and stuff like that. But when we got into London, we got to just during the Blitz. I'll tell you, those German airplanes that come over there, we'd be all sitting around playing cards or, you know, out in the pub somewhere or something, and those planes that come over and you wouldn't believe the way they could drop bombs in that London. I'll tell you, it was just in shambles. And we'd go into these underground, what do you call them now? They call them, you know what I mean, trains. People was sleeping in those places just like a bunch
Subways?
of packed rats. Yeah, kind of
That's
something,
always-
that is what they call it over there. Well, anyway, so then all of a sudden, the Germans let up on it for a long time. Hey, we really had a pretty good over there. Gee, nice weather, you know, and everything. Next thing you know, they started sending over those buzz bombs. You think those other things were bad, you ought to have been in there with those buzz bombs. You can believe this or not, we was living in kind of apartment houses. You know, it was only 150 men, but there was a lot of other companies in it too. If you stood on top of those roofs, if you had a baseball bat, you'd hold it up, you could touch those buzz bombs. That's how close they were to you. They'd go on over, you know, and pretty soon we'd say, oh, there they go. Pretty soon they'd make a U-turn and come right back at you. And one morning, now you can believe this stuff, this is a fact. We was all in bunks, you know, on Sunday mornings. One of those buzz bombs dropped right into the company of men about, well, I'd say about 6 blocks from us. And it just destroyed that whole company right now. And we shook right out of bed. They just knocked us right out of our beds, bunks. So anyway, we was there quite a while, though, in London. We were kind of glad to get out of there, though.
We were there about 6 months.
Yeah, but then we went across that English Channel. I'll tell you, talk about, we went in convoys, these Liberty boats. Man, I'll tell you right now, those old German submarines was on our tail. They was just bombing. They got a lot of it. The ship I was on, they lucky they didn't get on. As I told you before, though, then we finally got there, you know, in France. And we sat on those darn old rafts with those jeeps. And I'll tell you, those old guys come around there, and that old water was splashing up everywhere. And we finally got on land. And
But now there, even though this was quite a bit after D-Day, there was still a lot of combat at Omaha Beach.
Yes, you bet. A lot of, well, planes mostly, see.
Mm-hmm.
There were, I don't think there was any machine gun fire or anything like that. All these planes, those Germans never give up those planes. They really bombed the heck out of us. But how we got through it, I don't know, but we did. So anyway.
He always said he didn't have his helmet on, off for days and days.
Oh, heck no, that old helmet stayed on day and night. But that was rough, but I don't know, I just lived through it, and we've seen a lot of things, and
Well, after you got onto French soil, you started moving inland.
oh yeah, see then, for a while we was in the Patton, we got out of that, and I was awful glad to get rid of that Third Army, but anyway, we got in there, and we got in these hedgerows, you know, and man, I'll tell you something, we'd sleep out there, we had to put up tents up, and rain and cold, and the snipers after at us, and then they sent in the darn Germans to still bomb us, you know, and we'd lay under trucks to keep from the flak, you know, and it was darn cold in those places too sometimes, and when we got into all these other places, of course, we went through that. But our outfit we got 5 battle stars out of this thing, because we was always near a battle area. But our boys, we was in a car company, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I can give you this material here. They call them the most traveled outfit in the United States Army. That's was in the 507 Quartermaster Car Company. A lot of people say quartermaster. Hey, that's easy. Listen, brother, you get shot at, you get bombed at. In
Well,
fact,
you never were that far behind the
we was
lines.
always pretty close behind the front lines. But never near enough where we really got into the fight, see, but we was always in areas like that.
You're close enough to see the enemy at any point?
Oh yeah. Hey, I tell you,
Besides planes, you'd see the troops too?
Oh, sometimes. I remember one time this Bill Lamb from Fort Dodge and a bunch of them, they going down, and here come some Germans down in their tank, and they got out of there. I don't know how they got out, I don't know, but hey, them Germans, I tell you, if the United States hadn't got in there, Germany would have controlled that whole country, just like nothing. Because the French and the rest of them, they couldn't do it. So anyway.
He always thought he probably was fighting some of his own cousins.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one little experience I had. We went into Verdun, France, and there was an army camp there, which our boys drove out of there, and we was out there shortly after, and they were still prisoners of war in some of these, you know, pens. So anyway, started looking around, you know, and all of a sudden we run into a footlocker. Captain Jon Vietor, U.S. or not U. German Army. I said, hey, that's probably my cousin, because I know
Take a lot of,
I had a lot of cousins over
you
there.
gotta
Yeah.
take a lot of guff over that.
No, no kidding. Boy, I have to take a lot of
They
guff over
called him
that.
Kraut for quite a while.
Yeah, there was Captain John Vietor right on that thing. I was gonna say about this,
John, would you like a cup of coffee or something?
Oh, I'm fine.
How
Go
about
ahead if
this,
you want
take
some.
something.
No, thanks anyway.
about this, our outfit claimed the title of the most traveled outfit in the Army. And I think they drove between 400 and 500 million miles. We drove into Belgium and Finland and all we did was we take office. Well, where is it? I got it here somewhere. About, good thing I got this John in it. Oh, that's not it. That's what I just
He
read.
can just take that though,
Oh, yeah, you
and read
take
it
that.
over and
Take
leave
all
in
the
what he
stuff out,
wants
yeah.
and cut out what he doesn't want.
Yeah, other people I've talked to, they always have a scrapbook or a photo album or something. Yeah.
We haven't looked this over for a long time. We finally got it out the other night.
It says here the men in our outfit they got the biggest kick out of driving movie stars in Europe to entertain troops. Since its activation more than 2 years ago, the Quartermaster Car Company has furnished transportation to Lieutenant General George Patton, Fred Astaire, Bing Crosby, Winston Churchill, Dinah Shore, Secretary of War Henry L. Stinson. Also on the job, they are ready to go out anytime, anywhere, for as long as they are needed. Sometimes they don't know when they'll be back. There are several who were taken out 7 weeks ago and haven't returned yet. 30 miles driving are average days of driving. Let's see. The bulk of the company's work, however, is a little grimmer than these men drove their vehicles off on LST. Well, we told about that a while ago about Normandy beachhead, and we was in Omaha Beach. We had a good outfit. We was all from the Midwest there, Kansas and Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota,
Illinois.
and Illinois, the whole bunch, and
Did
Missouri.
you say
Yeah.
Missouri?
We had a good bunch until we got replacements.
That wasn't part of the 34th Division, was it?
No.
No. Like,
We're- not
we
the
were the
Red Bull.
12th Army headquarter group all the
Okay.
time.
The
See?
34th, that bunch went in before.
Yeah, they went
I
in
mean, you know,
before,
that
yeah.
he didn't go, see, he was drafted at the end of 42, and he actually went in right away in January. And they just give him a week leave after they were,
Mm-hmm.
had their examination at Des Moines.
Not much time.
What else you want to know, John?
Well, after you got into France, you said, the German planes would bother you there at the beach. How about after that? Did they continue?
Oh, yeah,
that?
they did. No matter, all the way. Until we got near Verdun. Of course, when you get up to Verdun, you get pretty close to the Battle of the Bulge, see? Which us guys we got a star for that, too, the Battle of the Bulge. Because we never really got into it, but we would have. They was training us for, or getting us ready to go in. But all of a sudden, I think it's the 8th Army Air Force, the weather broke, and boy, they just went in and bombed the heck out of it and got out. But they come across Verdun every once in a while and throwing bombs at us. But I'll tell you, it was cold. Gee, it was cold.
During the bulge?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, but like I say, I'll take $1 million, I won't go back for $1 million.
What were you saying about prisoners of war? You came across some prisoner of war camps? Or?
Oh yeah, there was a prisoner of war camp right close to where we were, in Verdun. So every time we walked in in Verdun or somewhere, we'd always go by this thing. There's thousands and thousands of them in there. They were better off than the Germans who were out there fighting. No kidding. But I was talking about the other one though, is when we got into Verdun, the Americans drove these guys out, but they left their prisoners back there. Some of the Germans, they had some German prisoners, or I don't know what they were. But these guys were still in their cells. We had to get them out of there.
They were like maybe Russians or were?
No, I really don't know if the Russians what they were, but they were in there.
They wouldn't have been Germans, would they?
Well, I don't know, maybe somebody, didn't do something right or something. I really don't know.
You had no contact with them, you just
No,
knew they were there.
When you
Well,
were,
Wiesbaden, Germany, that was the most beautiful city. Of course, the United States, they never bombed Wiesbaden. They always going to leave that for their headquarters.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have no idea how England, that poor London, how it's, God,
You saw a lot of destruction.
oh, God, destruction, you wouldn't believe it. And those people would go right back at it though, and work and clean up, you know. Well, we had kind of a ball there for a while between the regular bombing and the buzz bombs.
Between the Blitz and the buzz bombs.
Days are long, you know. Yeah.
He and Woody got together, you know, over there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Woody was in the Air
And
Force.
Tom Bode and I got together. I
He
don't know
was
if you
from
ever knew Tom
Akron.
Bode or not.
But he's from
Oh.
Austinville. He was always a friend of
Yeah,
ours.
he's always a friend of mine. Went to school together. We always got together.
You and Woody got together over in England?
Oh, yeah.
You were
Should I-
already
should I-
in,
should
you were
I-
already in
Should I tell you
France,
this? Should I
weren't
tell you
you?
this little story now?
Paris,
Yeah.
weren't you in France when you went back for a leave
No, I
to
think we're
England?
done. We're done, I think.
Well, I
Yeah,
should say
we're done.
France.
I should tell you. I don't know if we'll put this on or not. But so all right. So no, us guys we's all doing it. I'm no different than the rest of them. I had a kid from.
Wait, hang on just a second.
No,
I
don't.
got battery problems.
You don't want
They
that
should
on
shut.
me.
Now this
Which
isn't
one?
turned on now. The guys in the kitchen, you know, out the dump stuff. We wasted so darn much enough food and everything else. It was terrible. And you can believe it or not, these people would be around there waiting for us to come there with this truck. And we'd have to hold guns on them to keep them back until we got it dumped. They were just like a pack of hogs going after food.
The French
Pick it.
people.
French just pick up the junk that we had. And some of these people would be there, fur coats that probably had money one time, see? No kidding. And you know, then and in the camp, these little kids come to our camp, and a lot of times they'd send us chickens, you know, and they'd still have the heads on them and feet on them. These kids beg for those things. They'd take them home and eat them. Chicken heads and feet.
You made chicken
They made soup out
probably.
of them, see? No kidding, it was terrible out there. And of course, the kids on the street, cigarettes, got a cigarette from
Cigarette from Mama.
a cigarette for a chocolate for Mama and a cigarette for Papa. And they always say, want a looking for, you know? Good, yeah.
This is still off the record. He was talking about the waste, how they dump things. You know, I was with him a lot. You know, when he was in the States. He was only in the States from January until
Short time.
October, wasn't it? Yeah, and then you went to camp in New Jersey, didn't you?
Yeah, Camp
But
Gilbert.
anyway, I was with him 2 different times. After his basic training, he kept calling, and I wanted to go, of course, too. So I did, and stood up on the train most of the way to
Kansas
Texas.
City.
But yeah, missed it in Kansas City and had to stay there a day. And they had things for the wives too. You know, they had a big room where you could lay down on the cots and rest till you did.
Huh.
But anyway, then I was down there with him when he was on maneuvers, and he was in the kitchen, and so he had, wasn't it 24 hours on and 24 hours?
Yeah.
And there was always so much stuff left, and a lot of times he'd bring something that they'd had to eat. But if he'd got caught with it,
I'd got
he'd
caught
have
with
been
that.
court-martialed.
They throw it out, see, but if you get caught with it, boy,
Really?
you know, oh, hey, you don't take nothing out unless it's authorized, see.
But see, he was in the kitchen most of the time, so he could always, like, bring me a little bowl of something, you know. I was starving too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something, boy.
I was
Those-
starving. I
those-
hated the food there in Louisiana.
John, you can believe this not though in, well, I think Camp Swift was on maneuver, or was in basic training. First, they take you out with a full pack on and a helmet and a rifle, and you'd walk 25 miles. You come back, your old feet was blistered up, you wouldn't believe what they did.
Oh,
He was-
it was so foolish. He did
Well,
it.
then,
and, you know,
yeah, but see where you make a mistake. I was about the oldest guy of the whole bunch, as far as that goes. I'm 86 now, and most of these guys are, in their 70s, something like that. But
How
anyway,
old were you when you went into the service?
30,
he was going to be 32. He was 31
Yeah.
actually when he was inducted, but then you had a
30.
birthday right away in February.
yeah. So, but anyway, and then they'd call you out in the middle of the night, see? And boy, you'd get up and you'd go down there and you'd go on the,
Full pack, wasn't it?
no, this is a, what do they call these? You crawl under the barbed wire and,
Oh, an obstacle course.
an optical. You go out there with a full pack and a rifle, probably at midnight, pitch dark, and they'd shoot tracer bullets at you. Now these are real bullets. They weren't
Mhm.
playing around. You'd crawl on your belly and try to keep your rifle clean, and you'd crawl and crawl and crawl and under wire fence and everything else, and
Of course, at one time, I remember I got into a path, I thought, oh boy, I got an A. Then I run into a bunch of cockamers, see? But I finally got through
This
it.
is while you were on maneuvers, wasn't it?
No,
in
this
Louisiana?
no, this was in Camp Swift. where
Was
we
this
went.
basic training then?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Boy, and I'll tell you something, that was hell.
Yeah.
Gee, God, and then, well, of course, then we had to crawl up on the darn old, it's like you go crawling on the top of the ship, you know, climb up on the stuff. Hey, I can't walk across the street. I laugh about it now, but I'll tell you, I wasn't that kind of a guy. I mean, I never went much
It was
for
pretty
athletes.
tough,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I survived. I did a lot better than a lot of the young guys. See, that's where they've been, where man makes a mistake when you're on those long heights. A lot of these guys that just pass out, fall out. The old meat wagon, which was the Red Cross, they always called it the meat wagon, he'd come along, pick them up. They wouldn't have to finish it. When I was at Armed Food, of course, then at the end of the march, they say, smoke if you got them. They always say, smoke if you got them. Now they don't want you to smoke. See? Because I never smoked anyway. I sold all my cigarettes.
That's what I heard from somebody else, that they used to airdrop the packs of cigarettes to the GIs, just
Mhm.
come out of the sky.
Yeah, I never had that experience where that goes.
You know, he says you're a bleacher, but you know, you make me think of your dad a lot too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
There's just
I don't think I
something
ever
about,
looked like him.
you don't really look like him, but maybe it's your expression or the voice or something. You do make me think of Al a lot.
Well, you know, of course, you look a lot like my dad, I think. You and Woody both. When I see Woody, it's real spooky.
Yeah, they all, you know, those two always have looked a lot alike.
Yeah.
Well, see, we three were the only ones that really were at home together. Well,
Mhm.
the rest of, well, John was with us until he died, of course, but Wood and Al and I were home together, and we did a lot of things together. Had a lot of
Well,
good times.
When we're done, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that on tape too, if you're willing to.
Yeah, I don't know if I can really tell you anything, but we did. I know we had a good family life.
Well, that's what counts.
Well, John, I don't know. What else you like to
Well,
know?
tell me about, you told me a little bit about some of the French people you ran into. And you got into Germany though too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, how did you run into any German people?
Oh,
Civilians?
Sure. A lot of them.
How did they act, or how did they react to you being
They was real good to us.
Well, they
No
were
kidding.
glad to see them.
They were glad to see us. They really were. And the French people, they were so glad to see us. Why, they'd do anything for us guys, you know. Ones I've seen anyway.
Mhm.
In fact, there's one old gal there. Some of our guys that take their, well, I did too, I guess. We take their wash. This old gal do the washing for them sometimes, you know. He invited us over to dinner, see, one time. So, well, I know Junior Joder, he was going with their daughter, I guess, something. Boy, when you go with those that girls over there, they make you sit in the parlor and they sit there and supervise. You know? I don't get me wrong, I never did. Junior always told me about it.
He wasn't married though. Either.
No, he wasn't married either. But anyway, and so the old mother wanted to go. So they serve. They said they're going to serve rabbit, and they serve everything, you know, separate. First they'll serve beans, and then potatoes, and then rabbit or cat, whatever it is. And I went once. I say, this is enough that stuff for me, boy.
But you always said that the people were so glad to see the
Oh, they
American
were.
GIs.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, the French, that's understandable. I'm kind of surprised that the Germans were that receptive.
They were though. Don't
A
care
lot of
anyway.
the
The ones we,
Germans
because
didn't
I
want
think they were
that
just
war
glad.
either. They
Of course,
didn't
we
want
were there when it ended, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think they was glad it was just all over. And I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of the Germans, they didn't want to go out and kill these people any more than we did.
Mhm.
But they were forced to do it, that's all. Hell, I'll tell you, we was in those old places along hedgerows, you know. A lot of times, hey, we got our old rifles out and we started banging heck out there. I don't know who got them, but several times we shot snipers right out of the tree. You never knew when they was going to be there. And boy, those old hedgerows around there, they were spooky at night.
Was that in France or Germany?
That's France. They had a lot of hedgerows, you know.
And even though you were a transportation unit, you got into situations like that quite a bit.
Oh, God, did they? I'll tell you. Of course, then some of our outfits started hauling ammunition. And several of them was blowing up. And I always remember we had a kid by the name of, maybe you're not interested in this.
Oh, yeah,
But
I am.
This kid, his name was Stuffy. We called him Stuffy Smith, and he was a drunk. But he got on these ammunition trucks, you know. And they did He got out and got on the side of the road and was saved. After that, he was transferred out of our outfit. We got letters from him. He never drank ever since, and he got religion, and changed his life.
Wasn't he the guy that was in the English pub that time?
Oh yeah,
too?
then we was in the English pub now, and you know those Englishmen, they're great on their king and their queen, you know. So we used to go in these pubs, you know, and at the end of the night they always sing "God Save the King" or "God Save the Queen," you know. That was their last thing. Old Snuffy, he was drunk, you know, and hell with your damn queen. He says sing Casey Jones. Hey, we had a rat on our hand. And then I'll tell you another little funny story. This crab from Omaha, he was a real buddy of mine. Well, and it's all blackout, see? And there was no lights, so he had to go outside to pass water. He was out there doing it, you know, and pretty soon a cop come up. He said, "I say, old chap, you just simply can't do that on the king's soil." Crab says, "The hell I can, I'm doing it." They took him to jail. Our CO had to go get him out the next day. That's a fact. Oh, damn. Those English are really something, no kidding. And you know the beer, they never refrigerate it. It's always warm beer. God, Dad.
Well, tell me about where you were when it was VE Day and how you heard about it and what did you celebrate?
Well, that's when we went. We was back. You mean when the war was all over? Japan?
No, it was over in Europe.
Europe. You were still there. VE
Yeah,
Day.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we were in Wiesbaden.
Mm-hmm.
Wiesbaden, and things were pretty calm there then. It was, they wasn't doing too much, but I remember we was in a big auditorium. That's where our guys went. They made a mess hall out of it, you know, and this and that. And at night, though, just you and one other guy had to be in that mess hall to guard. It was darn spooky, I'll tell you that. Because, boy, you heard gunfire all around there all the time. But you never knew where it was or what. But, what else was I going to tell you? Something here.
well, that was in May.
Wiesbaden, though. We went, of course, wasn't it Wiesbaden where I told you where the bomb dropped? No. Then we went through Frankfurt. We was in Frankfurt for just a short time. That was bombed out by Americans. But this Wiesbaden was a beautiful city.
That's where you heard that the war in Europe was over.
Yeah, that's right.
Was there any celebration or anything, or
Well, no, nothing really, not much, I don't think.
how long were you in Germany before you were shipped back then?
Well,
After
of course,
VE Day.
between England and Germany and
No, you came back in July.
France, yeah, July.
That's what you're asking, aren't you?
Well,
Yes, yeah, how long were you still in Europe before you?
Well,
I came back in July to
Yeah,
the
we
United
went,
States.
we got into, what'd I say?
And he was supposed to have a 30-day leave, and he was going to Japan. But then the war ended in Japan. You know, they dropped the bomb there.
That's what I saw.
And then he just went back to Camp Bowie, wasn't it? And he was.
Camp Bowie in Texas, that's where I was released.
And while he was there, they also passed this law that men 35 could get out. And so he was.
Well, I had the fight.
You had enough battle scars
I
too.
didn't fight
And so he got
battle
out in
scars.
October of 45.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also I traipsed down there again too.
Yeah, we left the 3rd of December, 1943.
Aunt Tilly, you probably don't remember hearing about her, Richmar. She was Martha Gacy's mother.
I kinda remember her.
My dad's sister. She always said that we couldn't be apart. I had to be where he was. And I did follow him pretty well. Wasn't always easy, but
She got skinny as a rail.
I worked in Waterloo while he was overseas. And everything was, the trains were so crowded. You know, I used to try to come home on weekends because I know my folks, I knew they were lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, go back on Sunday night, you'd stand all the way from Ashley to Waterloo, or if you were lucky, you might get to sit in the restroom a little bit.
Huh.
But it was so crowded. It's hard to believe there's no trains now, no passenger trains, and it was so crowded then.
Gosh, that is interesting.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
of
we
the
went,
war. All because of the war.
Right.
we left Wiesbaden. reported to Camp Chicago near Leon and ready to sail
This
back to
is
the
still
United
in
States.
France then?
Yep, June 21st, 1945. July the 8th, 1945, we left Camp Chicago for Camp Lucky Strike, 9:30 a.m.
Where's Camp Lucky Strike?
That's in France.
I know,
On
I don't,
July the 9th, 1945 at 9:30 a.m., we got in 40 and 8 boxcars on train.
I don't remember the date, but I know I came home in
Then
July.
September 1945, we went to Camp Bowie, Texas. I'll tell you something though, when we got to Camp Bowie, Texas, our outfit, we went through all these years, you know, there and everything. That old sergeant was coming through there and trying to get you up in the morning. Some of those guys say, "Oh, go to hell." They just so sick of it, they didn't care if they court-martialed or anything. It's a good thing the war ended when it did. Of course, I'll tell you, I don't know if, I thought sure we all did. We thought we was going to have to go to the Pacific yet, see? Because I thought sure I could probably get out of it with my age, but nobody said anything yet at that time. But then the law come out that says anybody over 35 could get out.
But we were home, we were out at the farm when, I always remember Harry,
Oh, it'd be on V-Day, Ken.
yeah, Harry
Or-
met us. You and I came back from being in town, I think, and Harry met us and he said, well, the war's over in Japan. And we were just so elated. Short Thompson came
Oh,
and got us
yes,
and we
yes.
went to Waterloo and spent the whole night, stayed all night. It was just wild. People were crazy on the streets,
Oh,
you know,
God, I tell you,
just
yeah.
going crazy.
Well, how about where you were? The last celebrating there too?
Well, he was home with them.
You were
see.
back home on VT?
Yeah.
I thought you were in New
when-
Jersey. Or
When they dropped the bomb in Japan.
you were home by then.
Yeah, he was
I
home
wasn't
for-
discharged that though.
He wasn't,
Okay.
he was home for a 30-day leave.
Yeah,
And
for-
thinking he was going to have to go to the Pacific. But while he was home on that
The war
30-day
ended,
leave,
see?
I see.
then he had to go back to Camp Bowie for another 6 to 8 weeks, I think it
Mhm.
was.
Yep.
But
I
he
remember-
was discharged.
I remember what's his name? Took us,
Tommy Heinrichsen
Tommy Henderson
took us to the,
in a Jeep
train
that
in
took us to a
Fort
train in
Worth,
Fort
yeah.
Worth. And we'd come home on the Rock Island on that, they used to have
Rocket,
the rocket, you know,
great
boy, that
place.
was quite a train.
quite a train at
We
that
went
time.
right
you
straight
know.
through, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anything else you can remember about your experience over in
Yeah,
Europe?
I don't know right offhand anything.
Sounds like he's written a book now. to me.
Yeah, I bet you I'd probably give you more now than a lot of guys do. I don't know. Do I?
You
I
just
don't
cut
know.
out whatever you want and we don't care.
I tell you, John, if you want to take some of this home and read it sometime, you can.
I might want to take a look at it.
It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Then just
It's-
make sure he gets it back
Sure.
sometime.
Sure.
We're no rush
No
about
hurry.
it, but-
I see it there. This is all names and addresses. You know what that